Are patches super complicated for you to learn how to make? Well, continue watching this video and I'm going to show you exactly how to make this patch. Many different ways that any embroidery shop can go about making patches, whether or not you're doing one patch or you're doing a couple hundred patches or even 1,000 patches. You're gonna have to change the way that you do it just to save time and to make the process go a lot better. And this could determine what type of materials you're gonna use, what processes. There is, patches that you just put on fabric. Some people put it on felt. There's so many different ways to do it. I'm just going to show you the one way that works for me. So it's just going to involve your basic equipment, just any embroidery machine. Can be a single needle, can be a multi-needle, could be a multi-head. Anywhere between just a home hobby to an actual fully commercial decked out machine. And I guess we'll just go from there. So another thing that this video is going to focus on, so this is going to be kind of a part one-ish of a little series, is going to be covering the actual digitizing from start to finish of the patch I showed earlier and what you'll see on the screen now. So I'm just going to show you exactly how I go through the digitizing process for this. It's going to be a little bit more verbose because I'm going to be explaining a lot of the techniques and everything behind it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments as well. And also don't forget to join the Embroidery Nerd Discord channel. You can find all the links in the description. So let's get started. So right here, I got it's just Willcom Embroidery Studio. This is 4.5. And the first thing I'm gonna have to do is obviously import the artwork in. So the artwork that can be sent to me is anything from a JPEG, PNG, AI, whatever. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna do the import graphic. This is a JPEG, and we're gonna go ahead and pull that in. So now that I brought it in, it's quite clearly not the right size. So there's a couple ways that I can do this. In most software, there's a tool. So in Willcom, it's this transform by reference line numerically. I'm gonna go on the left side, holding Control, and I'm gonna run it all the way to the right. That's gonna bring up this little dialog. I'm gonna resize this to 88 millimeters because that's my magic number. And it's gonna bring it down, and let's bring it back into center. I'm gonna get rid of this hoop and bring it up to the size. So another thing to note is save your files often because you never know when things crash. So I got the design saved and it is now updating it, and there it goes. So with most of my patches, they're all pretty much military. So there's a standard set of authorized colors. OCP is the easiest because there's only like 5 approved colors. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna lock this so that I don't accidentally move it or anything, which is over here. Lock that. So first thing I usually do is I create my outer border. So I'm just gonna make the circle. I'm gonna make it black so I can see it. I'm also going to just make it an outline, center it, and we're going to do 88 millimeters wide, and there we go. It is now the border of my patch. So everything from now on should be contained within that circle. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it in. So I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to bring it into this outer band right here. Zoom in, and I am going to see what the width is. So it's a 1.2. I usually like to stay around a 1.5 millimeter, like an inner separator border like that. I can do all the way down to like a 0.4, but the resolution gets a little off. But we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna run it the way that I want to do it. So I'm gonna do a outline, and we're gonna make it a satin. And because you can see this line right here in the middle, it pretty much put the satin border on the outside end centered, and I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is go under special, and I'm going to offset it to 100%. Usually it's side 2 for me. And there we go. So now you can see that's there, but it's a little big. So we're going to do 1.5, and that's a lot better. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get these other ones. So this one will be the same thing. Let's see, special column 2.5 is what we're going to do on the outside. I might end up mirroring it, so I won't even need that border, but we'll see. Offset 100, 10, and we might bring this down a little bit yet. I'm going to bring that out. And once again, 1.5. And now I'm going to do the 2 fills really quick. So the way I do this is I'm going to copy these into a new file. Just that there's nothing there. I'm going to make them both a tatami fill. And just to make this a little bit easier, I'm going to make one white. And I'm just going to do that. So now I have 2 shapes here. I'm going to go into my intersect tool. And we're going to do this third one. And that will give me exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to cut that. And then I'm going to delete that. Grab that. So now I have 2 different shapes. I have an inside and an outside. And we're going to pull that out again. And then I'm going to paste that in. And we're going to bring that up to the top layer. Alright, so I got 2 different shades right here. I got a darker and a lighter. So the lighter is in the center, and then the outer is the darker one. So what I'm going to do is this center, we're going to make this a khaki. The outer is going to be that. And then they also have a different color on the border. Do I have the artwork dimmed? There we go. Okay, so now I can see. So there is also another border underneath it, which is a khaki one. I'm going to probably end up reducing the size of this to just a 2. Because it's just a satin cut, and if I laser cut it, I don't need to really worry about how thick it's going to be, because I can get it really precise with that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put that khaki in, and yes, I'm doing this way out of order. So I'm going to bring this up, make it a little bit bigger, and basically I'm just making it cover this gap. I'm going to make this khaki here, and now I'm going to bring that after that object. So now if I zoom out, what you're going to see here is a couple different shapes, obviously. However, if I run this on the machine, there's going to be a few extra trims in it, and I don't really want them. That slows production down. So one of the best things that I can do is take a run tool, and I can run from one shape to another, just like that. And what I'm going to do is change that to khaki. I'm going to choose my center fill, that stitch I just made, and then this one. And I am going to resequence by selects. So now it's not going to trim. The machine is going to do the circle, run straight out to this outside one, and then it's going to do that satin, and then I can have it do the green, and then I can tell it to do the borders here. So I can actually resequence it just like that. And now I have my patch here. So now I'm going to go and actually do some of the elements inside of it. So now that I have my actual like outlines and kind of just the general stitch of it kind of laid out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of change some of the parameters a little bit. to optimize it for the text and the shapes that are going to go on it. So the first thing I got to do is I'm going to attack the green that has a text on it. So the default stitch settings that you're going to get is a 0.40 spacing and a 4mm stitch length. So what exactly does that mean? It just means that it's going to be putting a stitch every 4mm wherever you see these dots. Now, from my experience, these settings, they can work. However, there's a better setting that I found. The one that I like using is like a 0.36 spacing. So it's going to be a lot more stitches. And you can see on the bottom left, so just that added about 400 plus stitches, which isn't much. It's like half a minute of runtime. And the stitch length, this is where it might hurt it a little bit. I'm going to put it to 3mm, which added another 2.3 thousand stitches. So that's a little bit more, a couple minutes, but the quality will be significantly better. So basically I added a lot more stitches. It'll let the text sit on it a lot better. And you can see by watching the texture change as I redo what I just did, you can see it just kind of gets a lot more dense, and it'll just turn out a lot better. For this, I'm probably going to do it as well, but I can try a 0.38, and then this one I will leave at 4. Just because there's no text, it's just going to be these couple of shapes. So I'm going to get rid of the stitch penetrations, and now I just have the stitch angles, and I'm going to change that as well. So right now, if I were to hit H, you can see this line running right through the middle of my shape here. It's at a 60 degrees. We're going to go ahead, and I'm just going to drop it to 90. So now the stitches on the text is going to be running straight up and down, and it's going to create a little bit more dimension, because if all the stitches were just running at 60 degrees, the patch kind of loses a little bit of dimension. Because if you think about it, it's a physical thread, so one of the things you're going to get is the light is going to glisten off of it a little bit differently. So the next thing I'm going to work on is the text. So one of the things I hate about text is I'm very particular in making sure that it's as symmetrical as I can. There's a way that I kind of came up with that helps me out, and I'm going to show you exactly how I do that. So if it's a curved shape like this, I'm going to duplicate an already existing shape right here. So you can see, let me hide that. So I duplicated this inner circle, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring it out to the bottom of the text. I'm going to make it a run, and then I'm going to duplicate it again, and I'm just going to bring it out to the center of all the middle bars on like the H and the E and everything. So that is my new line right there. I'm going to also drop in a guide ruler right there. And now what I can do is go to my tools here for fonts. I'm just going to type it in, health and wellness, and it's already arc clockwise, baseline centered, and I'm going to hit OK. And now what I'm going to do is create text, and I'm going to click on this line right here, hold Control so that it snaps straight, and then go right here, click that, and then I'm going to bring it up. Alright, so now I got that, and it's obviously way wrong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to zoom in, and I'm just going to measure the font, and I'm going to see that's about 5.8, but I kind of overshot it, so I'm going to go with 5.75 millimeters tall. Okay, and that is that. What I'm going to do now is get the bottom side. So there's a pretty easy way of doing this. Basically, I'm just going to duplicate the text. I'm going to change this to, you need to go into the settings though, change it to arc counterclockwise, and then you're going to see that it's going to do baseline above. That's not what I want. I want to keep it in the baseline center. Hit OK. You'll see it puts it up here. That's not what I want. What I need to do is copy this number from the first one and paste it with a negative in the Y position. So now I'm gonna get rid of all this. Okay, and now I have that all placed, and I'm gonna be replacing the hyphens with actual periods or circles, so don't worry about that. It's just for spacing. Alright, so now I gotta bring the spacing down a little bit. I'm just gonna go hit it with an 80, and you know, that's actually pretty close. And this one is also pretty good, but let's see if I can find a slightly better font. So I'm just gonna select both of these, since you know they're both the exact same. And I'm just gonna kind of scroll through the fonts real quick. So I found the font that I want to use, and it's my typical military patch font that I actually had Jeff Fuller at Fuller Embroidery Works make for me. It doesn't have all the letters in it yet. It was kind of a as need be basis. As you can see, it doesn't have the ampersand or well hyphen either, because I didn't need that yet. But that's fine, because I will be breaking this apart and doing that manually. So what I'm going to do is probably make that a little bit bigger, and then I'm going to do the same here. Let's bring that back up, and that should be good. And now we're going to space this out. So I hit H, and I'm just going to move the letters into position. Alright, so I got the font with what I want. It's currently set to block 2. That should be good. And we're gonna go ahead and hit this with a black, and we'll see what it looks like. So I'm also gonna quickly get rid of these 2 guidelines here. And I can go ahead and make this visible again, and we can look at our patch. There you go. That's what it looks like. And we're gonna do a little bit of tweaking on the letters to make them fit a little bit better, but that'll be later. That's a later Enderle problem. Now I'm gonna work on the centerpiece, you know, the actual deer or stag. And I think, you know, first we'll do the star. Because the star, there's a couple ways you could do it. I'm gonna do it the way that I prefer. And it's basically doing 5 separate shapes. So I'm zooming in quite a ways. I figured out where the actual zoom indicator is, but you don't want to zoom in too far, otherwise you're gonna try to get a little too detailed on your elements, which was one of my biggest issues when I started. But basically, I'm just gonna do 5 parts like this, and just zoom in, or making it that tatami or a true view, and I'm gonna use a special tool so that I can do a pattern. I'm gonna hold control, and now I can't. There we go. So I'm gonna click here. It's gonna ask me. I do not want to overlap or merge, and then I'm going to get a star like this. Sometimes it doesn't do the pathing very well, so I'm just going to select all of them like that and resequence. And yes, there is a tiny little gap there, but you know, with thread, it's going to actually adjust how, or it's going to fill up a little bit. So I'm going to group that together, and I'm going to duplicate it. We're going to bring it down. We'll just bring it over right away. And then let's see what it looks like if I center this. Okay, that worked beautiful. I'm going to duplicate, And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this a positive number, and that put it right where I needed it. And I can also check this, delete the X, and now I know it's perfectly centered. And there is that part. So this is the part where I'm gonna sit back and I'm just gonna kind of look at the patch for about a minute. And my purpose here is to see if I can envision what I want this to look like. Because one of the things I could do is I could just digitize the shape. It could be a simple flat fill, not have much character to it. It would probably be acceptable, but in my opinion, that's very boring, very dull, and I just don't like doing patches like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of plan how am I gonna break this up into different shapes to kind of give it more life to the design. So if I zoom in, there's a couple different shapes that I'm kind of envisioning. So you have the body down here, and then the neck, and then the antlers, and you got like the ear and everything. So I kind of want to layer them in a way that it looks like natural and it has a little bit more dimension. So the way I'm going to do it is I think I'm going to do the body, and I'm probably going to come up with this, and then I'm going to do the neck, finish up here. I'm going to do the ear because it'll taper out a little bit, and I can do the button where the antlers connect into the skull, and then I'll finish up. I'll do this antler first because it's further back, and then it'll finish up with this. So I'll be running each tine, come up, run that one, and then run up, and then I'll run down, and it'll be the same over here. So I'll do that one, come up, do that one, and then complete it out like that. So let's get to that. So I already have it saved. I'm just gonna hide this shape just so I don't even have to worry about all the lines, the crazy lines and everything. And I'm just gonna do a complex fill, and I'm gonna do yeah, I'll just leave it black. And this is not the right type of fill. This is the satin. I don't want that for this. I want it to be a tatami. And also, because this is an animal, animals are not just perfectly symmetrical. Their fur does not run perfectly in one way, and it's not all the exact same length. So one of the really sneaky little things you can do to make it look really cool is bump this random setting up in tatami. So I'm gonna make it, we'll start with 30. Okay, you can see a little bit of change there. Let's go big with a 50. That looks pretty cool. Well, obviously we'll have to see what it actually looks like. But I'm gonna do the next part, and I'm gonna start here, and we're gonna bring it up there, and I'm just gonna click there. And the same thing, so that did the exact same shape. So what I actually want to do is right click this one, make properties current, and I'm going to apply properties because I did it that way. And I'm probably actually going, yeah, I'm going to make these one shape. It's just so small, it's easy. Another thing I could do to give it more dimension, so yeah, it already has random stitches, but I can do something like the Florentine effect. So if I do that, you can see I can move this around, and it'll kind of change the look of the stitch. Ooh, not that good. I can also add another node and do something crazy like this, which will give it a flowing effect when it actually stitches out. So the next thing I said I was going to do the rest of the neck going up. So I'm going to grab this right here and run him down. Okay, and we'll cut the hole and everything, or I'll probably actually just put a khaki fill over it, but we'll see what will look better. And now I need to do the stitch underneath it. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna throw a little Florentine effect on it. I'm gonna bring that down. You don't need a whole lot, but just enough. And then I'm gonna bring this guy down one, so he's on top. Okay, and now I'm gonna do the ear. So this one I'm gonna do a little bit different. I'm gonna do this in two parts. So I'm going to grab, I'll do this one. Okay, and same thing, I'm gonna make this a satin as well. And I'm gonna change the underlay, because it's gonna have an edge and a zigzag, which I don't need that. Okay, so I'm gonna change it from a zigzag, we're just gonna get rid of the second, and I'm probably just going to do, we'll try a center run. And I'm gonna get rid of the stitch angles, and that is actually pretty good already. Another thing I'm gonna do is, I think I'm gonna remove the pull comp on just this shape, because I wanna have a little bit of separation in there. And I'm going to reduce the width of this bottom piece and bump that one up. You know what? I'll put the hole in the shape here. So there's already an add hole tool, and I'm going to oversize it a little bit just so that it looks better when it sews out. And it'll pull apart. So now I got that. Might make this eye just a tick bigger. And now to the antlers. So right now it is going to end my stitch right there. So what I'm going to do is run up here. And now I'm going to do the tines. So I'm not going to start at the very point because it's going to automatically kind of create that effect. So what I will do is this type of a shape. And I'm just going to leave it like that. And I'm going to set this to be a satin, and I'm going to now make this my default. So I have the tool selected. I'm going to click satin up here so that the next time I do a tine, it will automatically be the shape that I want it to be. And I'm gonna do the run stitch that I forgot to do in between. That is currently what it looks like. Obviously I have the khaki still hidden. It is this shape here, and that is what it looks like right now. I'm gonna go ahead and save it. So now I'm gonna quickly work on the text real quick. There's a few things I do. I'm gonna change the fill So let's do a 0.5. Underlay, let's check that out. Zigzag 2, that should be fine. And text is pretty good. I will be doing a little bit of spacing, especially on the bottom one. So I'm just gonna go ahead and try to see what happens if I just replace these with hyphens, and we'll take it out of space. Okay, that looks better. And then all I need to do is digitize this shape here. And what I'm going to do is do a candle wick knot. Because they look pretty cool. So that does not look like a candle wick or knot or anything until I do a 0.4. And there is that one. And this one would be awesome if it was centered, but it won't be. That does not look like it's in the right spot. Let's see. There's our patch. So right now I could run this. There's a few things actually that I see that I want to adjust. So like this L, the spacing here, it's just a little off. So what I'm gonna do is bring the L over, and I'm gonna grab both the A and the E, bring them out as well. It's also nice because now it'll do all these letters without trimming. So that is a plus. Everything else looks like it's pretty good. Let's look at my stuff here. 0.38, that'll be good. That'll be fine, but I do need one critical thing to do. So save it first. One of the things that I need to worry about is push and pull compensations. So this green object here, I'm just gonna make it red to stand out. So right now it's going to not sew out properly. So what's gonna happen is it's gonna look like this when it would sew out, at least on this edge. So what I could, and what I have done in the past, is I would leave it the way I have it designed, and I would sew out those shapes. I would measure the difference of the gap that, like, I would measure this gap, and then what I would end up doing is I would bring this down to here, because now when it pulls it, it's gonna line up where I want it, and it'll be hidden. So that is good there. I'm gonna have to do it. Oop, that's not what I want. Here as well. Another thing here, this shape will push out like that. So I'm just gonna bring it a little bit in, not a whole lot. And the same here, I'm gonna actually pull this in because I don't need it there. I'm gonna leave it on the outside there, and then pull that one in again. And then we're gonna check this guy. So he is going all the way out. I'm going to pull him in a little bit, and that's just so that this black border here is going to be sitting on it properly. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything from this star to this, which is one shape. I'm going to bring that, or group it, and I'm going to throw that. I don't know if I necessarily want to do it next or first, so I'm going to click that. Oop, and wrong shape. And that, I'm just going to make it blue to see. Yep, I got everything I want. And I'm going to resequence by select. And let's look at our sequence here. So it's going to do the khaki. It's going to do the red, which I'm going to make. Just do backbeat green, and then it's going to do that border, the outer border, text. And then it's going to do the deer, the stars, and then the deer. It's going to do that border, and then it's going to do those. So that should be fine. Let's look at trims real quick to make it optimized. So high-end trim, that's good, that's good. There's one in each star, which makes sense. There's no extra trims in the letters. What is going on here? So what I'm going to do here is this connector. I'm going to hide one after object off. So there's a little line there, but you won't see it because it'll get sucked into the thread there. But other than that, that's the patch. So I wanted to give a really quick tip on how do I actually set my hoop up for this in the software. So when I'm doing one patch, that's it, just one hoop. I'm going to leave the start and stop in the exact center of the patch. And the reason for that is because most embroidery machines have a capability or function that'll allow it to home to the center of that frame. Now, if I know that my patch is an 88mm patch, and I have like a 120mm frame, I don't have to worry about it hitting, just because I know the sizes are going to work. However, when I'm doing this in my big sash hoops, you'll see that I'm going to be starting in the bottom left. And the reason for that is because I can just send the one single design to the machine and then have the machine auto-replicate or repeat the X and Y amounts, and you set the offset, and it'll do all of that in the software, so I don't even need to mess around in Wilcom to kind of create a design for that. So now I can get this design prepped up, I can send it to my Tajima machine over there, and we can sew it out and see how it turns out. So follow me over there.
So behind me I have my Tajima multi-needle machine, 50 needles, one head, perfect machine to get patches done really quickly, and I use it to sample all my patches, just other name patches and stuff. So now I'm going to hoop up my materials. So I got my standard, this is a 15 centimeter hoop or 150 millimeters, and I also got my actual material I'm going to be using. So the material itself is one layer of Gunnell's 2085. This is a 2.5 ounce cutaway stabilizer, and one layer of the Embroidery Nerd twill. This is the same combination I use to make 99% of my patches, unless if I need to go with a specialized color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my hoop, take that apart and put the fabric on it, and push it in, and now it's ready to run. So I'm going to bring my arms out, snap that in, and it is centered. It is set to run on the center of the design, and now all I have to do is start it.
Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you got a few takeaways with it. And this is just part one of the how to do patches series pretty much, and I'm going to cover a few different things later on about how to actually put different borders on, how to put Velcro or backing on, just cool stuff like that. So you don't want to miss it, so make sure you subscribe and also click that little bell icon, because for some reason YouTube won't notify you if we upload a video. I mean, what are you doing, YouTube? But, you know, whatever, that's not my problem. So it could be your problem if you don't click the bell, so make sure you do that. Why is it so hard to do intros and outros? I mean, like, seriously. Okay, I quit. I'm getting pizza.